But on the other hand, it's like, okay, well, those parents are too permissive and have additional longevity problems. If you're too permissive, I don't have the study in front of me. I believe there were also issues with like, neglect, and also just like highly permissive parents. If the kids are allowed to shoot up under a fucking bridge, then, go ahead, Tommy, whatever you want.
What you been doing, Billy? Shooting up under a bridge? Okay.
Do you know where my TheraBand is? Yeah, I've been using it to get a good vein. Okay, so let's record the intro now.
So what is Milkless? Because I think we start with the name.
Two dads, we love our kids, but then we also need them to know that we're like pretty cool and it's not like a wimpy podcast. So, hey, Milkless.
Hey, welcome. Hey,
Milkless. Call the audience, Milkless. What's up, Milkless? Max coming at you.
What if that's it? That's our first take.
All right, Matt, we are back live via satellite. Milkless coming at you. I got a secret episode that you don't know about.
Oh, shit.
We're going to get completely rounded I'm going to round us out as we're diving in right off the gate. There's a really interesting study I came across that I think is going to be the foundation for a really cool episode.
Oh, you've been doing research, like scientific research.
Yeah,
Is that why you put on a collared shirt, you fucking nerd?
This is actually my mountain bike outfit. I put it on in the morning so that I will mountain bike at some point, but it got away from me.
You mountain bike in a collared shirt?
It's called a tactical flannel.
Oh,
you don't.
Okay.
There's breathable air vents. If you're on the video, you can see these.
Yeah, if you're listening, it looks like Max has like rectangular pit stains is basically what they look like.
But they're mesh armpits. It's called a tactical flannel. You can check it out. Like a lot of mountain bikers wear flannels.
Okay.
Kind of classes it up,
Sure, yeah. Well, you're a classy guy.
Anyway, here we go. Let's round us out as we're diving in here. So this comes from the English longitudinal study of aging. So they've looked at a lot of people in the UK and like looking at, these longitudinal studies about longevity and things like that. Mm-hmm. So this one comes from the British Journal of Psychiatry from Panayotis Demakakos, Dimitris Pias, Michael Marmot, and Andrew Steptoe. Those are people. You gotta love Andrew Steptoe's work. I'm glad we're talking about
Steptoesian philosophy.
Steptoesian. Yeah, exactly. Or Demakakonian.
Ooh. Yeah.
Panayoti. He's great. He's solid. Anyway,
always.
So building this up pretty big here. But basically, it's that children of overprotective parents, what they did is they did all these sort of like indices of like what their parents were like and answered all these questions and then put those parents into different categories. And some of the categories of the most extreme things that they thought might, different patterns of like love and nurture versus like coddling versus this versus that, would make either an authoritarian, permissive, negligent, or overprotective. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And with the interesting findings from this study is that men who had overprotective fathers and little autonomy during their childhood had a 12% higher risk of dying before their 80th birthday. So they died quicker. And in the case of women who had an overprotective father, the risk of dying before the age of 80 was increased by 22%.
Oh.
So on the other hand, women who were cared well by their mother during childhood, the risk may decrease by 14%. So also, men who only lived with one parent in childhood had 179% higher risk of dying before turning 80. Basically, the study is showing that longevity was related to, that there is a negative correlation with overprotective fathers especially.
Interesting.
And I've done some... Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I've done some thinking about it just as to what this might mean. But
well, that's what I was going to ask. In the study, did they try to attribute that to anything in particular, or is it more like, hey, this is interesting data, why do we think this might be?
I think it's the latter. I mean, These are people of science. They're not going to speculate in a peer-reviewed paper, Matt.
I was going to try to make a joke with one of their names, but I can't remember any of them. So yeah, that is interesting. Well, you've been thinking about it. What do you?
I've been thinking about it all day because I found it in preparation for this episode. And I think what I think the general thought is, and they may have speculated in the abstract, I really stuck to the facts, but is that if you have an overprotective parent, then that child is going to be more coddled and once they get into the real world, have possibly a harder time adjusting and possibly turning to more destructive coping mechanisms. Not to say that's explicitly what's happening here, but it kind of makes sense. Highly overprotective parent that it really gives no autonomy. You are basically shuttling your kid from A to B, not really letting them make decisions. You're their backbone. And the really fucked up thing about this is like a really highly engaged, loving parent.
Yeah. Who just is really, Yeah. So this is not a neglectful, shitty parent. This is just a parent who is maybe, anxious, worried about their kid. Another thing that occurs to me where like we've talked before about the more we learn about the brain and the way the brain works is that there's like that making a distinction between nature and nurture is not really particularly useful because everything about how the brain works is a combination of the raw material that's there and then this very use dependent formation of certain neural pathways. Essentially, you get better at what you do, a lot of, and those pathways kind of get smooth. So if you have a parent who's always kind of doing the risk assessment for you and who's always kind of hovering and making sure that you don't get any kind of in any kind of trouble, you're not having to do that work for yourself. So it's like when as soon as people buy glasses, their eyesight really goes to shit, because your brain is no longer having to do that work autonomously.
Yeah, totally. And like, if they don't, it's kind of like a weird thought that popped into my head when I heard this study was like, it's almost like you can't cheat this. Like, it's almost like in order to, this is another weird analogy. Let's open up another one. Do you ever like walk barefoot in the summer as a kid, like in like a concrete area and your feet just get totally raw?
Yeah.
There's like no other way other than just having semi-raw feet for a week. And then they get thicker. It's kind of like that with life. Like you need to have some sort of struggle or autonomy and kids need to figure stuff out on their own. It's like, I think especially if you have the time, finances, energy, it's very easy for a parent to fall into this where it's like, well, I fucking love my kids. I would do anything for them. So I'm going to do everything for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the tough part is it's like one of those things we say on the show sometimes is like, it's one of those, this is the wrong word. You got to help me out, vocabulary man. Like it's one of those like soft skills or like, passive things like doing less, like the thing we talk about with like, unstructured free play. Like it's one of those things that like, how can it be better for my kid to like not do everything for them?
Yeah. Or to watch them to watch them struggle with something is very hard. Or, I mean, certainly to like watch them engage in behavior that is a little risky is super hard.
But it's like the foot thing. You need to develop the callus at some point in the week, and that week is their life. You need to develop, like you cannot understand certain things unless you fail at them. Like, you can't just like read books and learn that this is how this works, especially like social interactions. Like, okay, there's a mean kid at school. Now, again, we're not for bullying or abuse. Like, fucking relax, bro. Kevin.
And there's a point when you got to get in there, of course.
Yeah.
Like,
totally. But that other side where it's like, you hear some parents complaining to the school about like, this kid like did this and that. And it's like, man, that's kind of like normal. I remember that. Like,
and I'm hearing like from college professors now that they get emails from parents like advocating for their children, which is a little crazy. I mean, it's interesting. I feel like this topic is coming up in all of these different ways. You hear the term now, bulldozer parent, right? That's kind of, have you heard that term before?
Sort of, yeah.
It's kind of replaced the helicopter parent it's a little different. It means basically you just bulldoze all obstacles in their path. Those are the parents who are emailing the college professor. But I think one of the things that we're getting at that you articulated is friction is good for people, right? Headwinds are good for people. They build strength, they build resilience, they force you to grow. And I think that conversation is happening in that realm of the bulldozer parent. I think it's happening we're already starting to see, as people become really reliant on AI, they're getting dumber. Like that's like the rapidity with which that is happening is kind of wild. We're also now seeing, some of these like bigger AI companies kind of encouraging people to have AI friends or AI therapists. And it's funny when you interact with ChatGPT and you're like, hey, could you do this for me? And it's like, great request. Of course. Here it is. Would you like me to do this and this and this? And then you're like, I don't like this part. Could you redo that? And they're like, of course. I'd love to. It's a frictionless interaction, right? And part of the benefit of relationships and interactions is that they are friction full, that you are dealing with somebody who also is different than you and is not just there to kind of meet your every whim. It, in a much broader sense, like the physical world is full of friction, right? And full of headwinds, literal and figurative, and the digital world is not so much. So I think, but it's just, in a way, it's there couldn't be anything more obvious. It's like if you lift heavy things, you get stronger. If you don't, you don't.
This episode is brought to you by the Violet Archer video book. What's a video book, you ask? Well, it's something that Matt and I made along with Caitlin Murray, which is basically like an audiobook, but with awesome, cool visuals. It's not like EDM for your kids, like, flashing TikTok craziness. It's story forward. It helps your child use their imagination. You can get it on pretty much any platform. So whatever you're listening to this podcast on, go ahead and check the show notes for violetarcher.co, find links there, or just search Violet Archer in the search box and you should be able to find it there. Put it on for your kids. Put it on a drive. It's a great audiobook, but you can also hand them the phone or put it up on YouTube for viewing content that's a little more relaxed and chill. Written by Maddie Nails. Maddie Snails.
Don't do it. God damn it. If that catches on, I'm going to kick your ass.
Right. But I think the problem here is that as we as Americans want simple solutions, we want binary things. And the thing we've talked about a lot on the show, like the milkless middle, it's just not that sexy. Not only for like selling a product or a podcast or whatever, just for me, I want the answer. And I want it to be some extreme answer. The answer is let them fucking live in the woods by themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's why you see some parents where I cringe at them when they're like, they got to figure it out themselves. And it's like, okay, you're taking that study a little bit too far. Like that's scaring me, the level of autonomy your kids have. Yeah. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, well, those parents are too permissive and have additional longevity problems. If you're too permissive, I don't have the study in front of me. I believe there were also issues with like, neglect and also just like highly permissive parents. If the kids are allowed to shoot up under a fucking bridge, then, go ahead, Tommy, whatever you want.
What you been doing, Billy? Shooting up under a bridge? Okay.
Do you know where my TheraBand is? Yeah, I've been using it to get a good vein. Excuse me. Sorry.
You can put on a collared shirt, but you're still Max Valverde.
Yeah. So, I think it's like, it's just not that sexy for even my own brain to realize like, okay, so it is actually authoritative. It is love and nurture, but then you cannot like do everything for your kids. They need to have autonomy. They need to feel pain, struggle. Like think back to your parents or my parents. My parents were like borderline permissive. I did all my problems. I solved all my problems. I feel like my parents, they didn't even know I had homework. My parents would wake up at 7:30 every day. I got up and took the alarm, made my Pop-Tarts, went to school by myself. Like we make our kids breakfast still. I mean, they know how to, but we still kind of do some stuff, it's like,
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like the thing I'm up against is like, I have the time and energy and I fucking love being around them. So it's like always trying to actually, depending on where you are, finding the amount of like moments you can give autonomy. Go do this if you're on this side of it.
Some of it, and you're right. And, I think it bears saying that it's not just that complex, middle ground, that the attempt to live that way, that it's not A or B, it's always some kind of moving point in between. It's not just that that's not sexy. our body doesn't want to do that. Like your brain eats something like 20% of your calories, right? So the idea of constantly holding a discussion with itself, your body's like, nah, dog, you're going to fucking starve out there. Just decide it's one way and do it that way. Because then you don't have to think about it anymore. So we really, this desire to have things be simple is super intrinsic to us. But I think you're right. Seldom does that accurately represent the way to behave in a complex world. So I think that free play and solo time is a big part of this, allowing our kids to be bored, and they'll be kind of bored and a pain in the ass for a while if you're just like, hey, go do your thing. That's something that actually my wife and I have made a commitment to recently, in part because we were both feeling like my work's gotten really busy, which taxes our whole family in various ways. And we were both kind of like, I haven't just sat down and like read a book or just, hung out in a long time. And we're like, what if sometimes in the middle of a Saturday, we were just on the couch and you and I were both reading, and the kids we weren't supplying any kind of entertainment for them. We weren't like, they just had to figure out what to do. So I think that that's a piece of it. Another big piece of it for me, and this is another, I feel like, button that maybe we mash a lot on this show, is do you ever go through the exercise of like just suddenly just trying to like basically do a scan of your body and see what you're feeling?
I mean, since meditating,
right.
only when the holy leader Sam Harris tells me to.
Man, he's a controversial figure these days. Very pro-Israel. Yeah. Very, very pro-Israel. Yeah. It's a hard, complicated situation. He's controversial. On meditation, he's pretty great. For the record, I am not anti-Israel. I'm just stating that he is like a controversial dude.
Yeah, we are public figures now, so we
that's a stretch.
Feel nothing in either direction.
Yeah, right. At any rate, I've found recently, and I found this when I was doing yoga, meditation has certainly helped, that at times I just try to stop and just see what my body's feeling. Like independent of my thoughts, like what is my body feeling? And a lot of times my body is kind of keyed up, right? And like there's some anxiety in there. There's probably also some excitement in there. There's energy. It's not all bad. And I think many of us, because of the pace of our life and everything, are just spend a lot of our time kind of with our shoulders up by our ears, right? Just like keyed up. Mm-hmm. And if that's where your body's living, you're going to have a lot harder time realistically judging the amount of danger your kid's actually in. You're going to be a lot quicker to jump in. You're going to be a lot quicker to be the bulldozer parent. So one of the things that I've been trying to do a lot is just recognize what I'm bringing to it and be like, okay, wait a minute. Like, yeah, like my kids in my backyard, the chances that they'll see a snake is 1 in a million. Or like probably that tarantula hawk is not going to sting them because they're pretty docile. They're just big and buzzy. Things like that. Yeah.
And like that's getting right at the core of like the overprotection thing. But I'm now transitioning more into the kind of unsupervised free play. And the way what I'm kind of realizing now is like, growing up in the late 80s or the 80s and early 90s was like, awesome. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it's like neglect. It's just like the way it was, right? By today's standards, a lot of things would be considered neglect in a way. Like even just like not like child protective services, but just like, ooh, like that's not an ideal situation. Like I remember I used to be a latchkey kid when I was like 6. I'd go home alone. I remember one time I was at a daycare at like a woman's house, and we like walked like a mile and crossed all these streets when I was like 6 and went and bought candy at the 7-Eleven, walked back a couple miles.
And people would call CPS about that now. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. That is happening to parents.
Right. And so when you look at that and it's like, okay, well, that's not cool. We don't want that. Now, especially if you're in like, let's say you're a stay-at-home parent or a partial stay-at-home parent, or like, I think a lot of times maybe free play today happens out of exasperation. It's just like, I got nothing left. Like go fucking play outside. And that's when but it feels like a failing as a parent, as opposed to like, wait a minute, these things that now like, here's the problem I see for myself and other parents as well. If you really have the time and energy, you got the finances, you got everything's, well, the kids are the number one most important thing in my life, hands fucking down. So then that can result in a very common thing of just smothering them.
Yeah.
like, and then when you are overwhelmed or exasperated or whatever, then they turn to you and they're like, mommy, daddy, can you play with me? And it's like, dude, I play with you all the time. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I don't know. What's break it down, smart guy. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, use that big brain.
Some of it is definitely cultural. I mean, like, that's something that Morgan Cutler, who we've had on the show, points to. I mean, she had some crazy stat, like the average full-time working parent spends more time with their child than the average stay-at-home parent did in the 50s or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think some of it is just the cultural context. We see a lot of it. Some of it, I think, I mean, there's a great, like, Jack Black quote or something. It's of Tenacious D and, you know, many other wonderful things. Kind of an American treasure, that dude.
Love him.
And that guy seems real fun, right? Like funny, fun. And he talks about, he's like, don't try to, if your kids are having fun, you're not going to make it more fun. He's like, and which is the idea that if your kids are playing and they're happy, it is not your job to like get in there, you know? But I have that impulse too. That impulse is probably pretty strong also with parents that do work full time the way I do. It's like, we got these 2 hours. Like, I got these 2 hours. Let's make the most out of it. I think you and I also have this push to make everything epic. It's like, this is going to be the best Saturday of our lives. Mm-hmm. Whereas both of our partners are much more like, hey, let's just stay at home today. We'll do a little yard work, throw on a nature show in the afternoon. It'll be a nice little Saturday. And, you know.
That feels like giving up. But
feels like giving up, yeah.
Well, but no, because with the meditation and stuff, I've been like trying to be cool with, you know, more of the middle.
Yeah. I had an interesting experience the other day because you've given up drinking. I have not entirely given up, but like very dramatically changed my relationship with marijuana.
Yeah, you only do it rectally, right? Like rectal gummies, that's your thing.
Like, it's faster acting, bro. Have you tried it, man?
You said you like that first moment.
The first hit of the rectal gummy is just, man. Just I put on Fantasia. Just go rectal gummy. No, but there's a lot less of it in my life than there used to be. But the other day I just like, and I don't keep it in my house anymore, which is like the easiest way to just like not have it.
Just keep it in the keister stash. You know,
in
a zippy. Sorry.
So I hit it the only place I could, on my ass.
What's wrong with me?
That's all right. No, you're good.
Yeah.
That Pulp Fiction scene with Walken, that's an all-time great Walken moments.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Oh, it's like a long monologue about a watch, and he's like, so he hid the watch the only place he could, up his ass. Kept this watch up his ass for 10 years. Died of dysentery. And then that's like the watch he has to go after. Anyways, so the other day I did, I just had a hankering for it, and I didn't have any in my house, but there is a gas station that sells like weed drinks like 3 minutes away, which I was like, thanks guys for making it easily accessible to me. Yeah. So I was like, maybe I'll just, you know, it was like fucking Tuesday. I'm like, why would I do this? And then I meditated, and when I was done, I didn't want to do that so bad no more. And it really like, it kind of made me realize something, that part of the reason that I reached for that was that it made a boring old Tuesday feel epic. Because suddenly, you know, you're stoned and you're like, whoa, the world. Yeah. And so I think this is a long roundabout way of saying, like, I think we have some of those same desires with our kids to make every day the most legendary day of ours and their lives together. And that impulse comes from a really lovely place. I mean, I think that like we both have like kind of been doggedly pursued leading interesting, not typical lives because of that impulse. And I'm proud of that. But when that thing runs away, it's not realistic. A lot of life is mundane. A lot of life should be a nice little Saturday. And there's like a calm that comes when you just kind of like settle into that you don't really find if you're always chasing something amazing.
Totally. And what I've tried to do here now is like less about, I think a lot of it used to be kind of about me. Like, hey, I kind of want to be that cool dad. And in order to do that, like I have to be playing with my kids, whether that's roughhousing or, making up the different cool science games or egg drop, all these sorts of things. But now what I'm kind of thinking more about is like, one, just being okay with the silence or the chillness or whatever. But then two, thinking of it more of like a siphon.
This episode of Milkless is brought to you by Viola Archer in the case of the Purple Martin. Thank you. Bye.